Hello and welcome to The Exchange, a program where we exchange ideas and opinions on matters that affect our lives every day. I'm Rob Buckingham and my co-host on The Exchange is my wife, Christie.
Yeah, I am looking forward to this show today because all of us have interesting things to say about our in-laws, don't we?
Oh, we certainly do. On today's show, we'll be tackling the age-old issue of how to relate to your in-laws. We'll be looking at positive ways to approach this important relationship and how to keep any difficulties from affecting your marriage. To discuss this topic, we're delighted to be joined by Sue Yorsten, who is the Manager of Social Inclusion Services at Relationships Australia. Welcome to you, Sue.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Great to have you. We're also thrilled to be joined by Lisa McInnes-Smith, who's a motivational speaker and relationships expert. Welcome, Lisa.
Thanks, Christie. Well, it's good to be here.
Great to have you. Now, before we start our discussion, let's take a look at this.
When you say I do on your wedding day, not only do you get the partner of your dreams, but along with them comes the rest of their family, your in-laws. These in-laws come with all different sorts of personalities, expectations, and advice on how to live your life. Although you all love the same person, you're not guaranteed to get along all the time. How do you love and respect your in-laws while still living your own life?
Relating to your in-laws, what we're going to look at today with Lisa and Sue. Now, I've heard the analogy of comparing in-laws to a new country. Is that a fair analogy? What do you think, Sue?
I think it probably is if you haven't sort of taken the time to actually understand that you're not just marrying one person, you're marrying into that country.
Yeah, no one actually warns you of this, though.
Well, I think you have your rose-coloured glasses on, don't you? You know,
Yeah.
You're in love with this person and you sort of don't look very much further than that.
And even though they might speak the same language, technically, sometimes the language is quite different. It's quite a... How do you find it, Lisa?
Well, I do think it's like marrying into a different tribe. I'm not sure about a new country, but it's certainly a group of people that you're marrying into. And I don't know that you really think about that when you fall in love with someone because you focus so much on the partner and you don't focus that much on the family until you have children.
So you think you're safe until you have kids?
Well,
So
no,
what you're
I don't know
saying,
that safe is the right word.
Don't
either.
have kids. That's what the takeout is for today. Is that right?
I just think that children reveal all our weaknesses.
Sure.
And I think that whether it's in the tribe or even in the relationship.
Okay. Sue?
I think you've got to flip that the other way though, and it can be just as big a minefield not having children.
Why is that?
Well, because, you know, families have expectations
That you do have children.
that you are
Yeah,
going to have children. You know,
absolutely.
I want grandchildren. I want the line to continue. And it can be quite confronting when you're told that they're not going to do that.
Do you think it should be an instant love of your in-laws when you get married straight away? Should they love you and you love them and call each other mum and dad and all this sort of thing?
Yeah, I don't think you can say should. It's nice if
Yes.
it happens. But yeah, for me, I have one mum and I have one dad.
Yes.
And that's it. I don't need any more.
Yeah. How about you, Lisa?
No, well, for me, I had two mums and two dads. And in fact, I would say I even had some extra mums growing up. Women that were really important in my life. I referred to them affectionately like mum.
Yes.
And so in my case, it really was that I wanted them to be another set of parents and I was looking for ways to involve them into my world. I was going to need them.
And I know your mother-in-law and you scored extremely well.
I have, but at the beginning we weren't sure that that was the case.
Is that right?
Yes, we were quite confrontational at the beginning because we both had lots of opinions and they were different.
Right. And you both had to change.
We both had to change, but I also had to say to my mother-in-law, you know, I want to love you, but I'm not going to be like you. And so we have to find a way that we can work together where we can appreciate each other's strengths and just accept each other's differences.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christie, you've got a question there from Facebook. Do you want to
Yes, I do.
mention that?
We've been asked, how can we expect or how can we teach our in-laws to observe boundaries? What is a pleasant way of doing that?
Smile.
I think it's just what Christie was saying. It's about being respectful but actually making your views known, but doing that in a respectful way. You know, it is about that tribe stuff, isn't it? And about being able to negotiate.
So you think it's worth having the conversation and just saying, look, this is maybe what you did, but this is as comfortable as we feel with this?
Look, I think direct is good. You know, look, not everyone deals with direct, but I think that when everything's out on the table, you know what you're dealing with. So in my case, because my in-laws were older and also wanted to be involved in the lives of my family, the children, that I had to be really clear. But you know what I did learn is that I also had to find out what they thought. So I had to hear their opinions, their ideas, their ways, and then tell them clearly where I was not going to operate under those ways.
And was there any things that you decided to go in their direction that you thought, yeah, absolutely, you guys have had more experience in this and you did a pretty good job with your son, that's why I love him?
Yes, I think so. I definitely think that there were benefits, but I didn't know what they were at the beginning, so it took me a little time to understand some of their strengths. But I had to be looking, and I actually made a decision. I said, you must choose to love each other. So love is not that, oh, see if I like you. I am going to love you because I love your son.
That's a great starting point, isn't it? Like, you've chosen this life partner, and he's got his values and his beliefs mainly from his family and very often from their parents. So what it is that you love about that person is what's been given to him from his family.
Okay, so you can love about them as well. What about when in-laws want to give advice? How should we take advice and set boundaries for advice?
Well, I'm very good at giving advice. I'm a grandmother and I'm a mother-in-law and I'm very good at giving advice, but I think you do have to, take that step back and let people find it out for themselves.
When it's solicited or give it before?
I'm very conscious of not giving it unsolicited advice.
That's a very good piece of information.
Yes.
So you wait until they say, hey, Mum, what do we do here? Or
Yes. I have 5 children and from a very young age I've been told not to psychoanalyse me mum.
Yes.
So,
because of your background.
So it's about taking a step back and just being mum and being there when they need it and ask for it. And I think that goes for in-laws as well.
How many times have you had to bite your lip?
Oh, lots.
Yes, maybe you've got lips left,
it's
right?
It's amazing what I know that they don't know that I know.
Okay.
Yes. But they learn later that you do know it.
Yes, the older I'm getting, the wiser apparently I'm getting.
Isn't that wonderful? It's amazing how much you've changed, actually.
I know, yes.
Yeah. What about you, Lisa? Have you
Well,
noticed the advice
I listen to that and think that is gorgeous that you would be so wise to hold your tongue. Because often you marry a family that's opposite to yours. I come from a really upbeat, positive family, and my husband's family was not the same, and more likely to look at the glass half empty. So the viewpoint often came from places that, well, even that I was struggling with. But I had to stop and go, wait a minute. They have just as much right to me as their point of view and their style. So I had to stop being judgmental and take the criticism out of my own language so that then that would actually enable a conversation between us to be more lovely. So it wasn't just about asking my mother-in-law, particularly my mother-in-law, because she was the one that had more hands-on than my father-in-law, but my mother-in-law really had strong opinions and different ways of doing things, and I had to reap the benefit. And I look at it now, that we are now so far down the track, 20 years old my oldest child is, and she has helped me raise my children. So she has put massive security and input in, and I'm so grateful, but we've travelled the journey together, and we've actually gone on a journey of getting to know each other, and when we had to, being quiet.
That's really good. What about in-laws dropping in? I mean, we don't actually have that problem because my family lives in Perth and Christie's family live in Northern Ireland. So, I mean, they do drop in most years for a couple of months. But people that live close. Should we set boundaries or have an open house?
I think that's really up to you. It's an individual thing. It's about, some people are happy to have people drop in, other people don't like that. I think it's what you're saying before about being able to be upfront about setting those boundaries. In some families it is, they just drop in on each other all the time.
Too. I mean,
and it comes with the territory.
And where you were used to, being brought up.
Yes. And it's what you're saying before about the family dynamics and way the family operates. Some families are expressive and loving and open in the way that they interact with each other. Other families aren't like that. And it's about being able to, I think, take some time to actually understand that when, when you're new in that relationship and you're developing that relationship with your in-laws, you must take that time to sit back and just look at how they do things and what is different and finding that middle ground.
No, I think that's very wise. I mean, opposites attract, don't they? And so the likelihood is that you're going to marry someone different to you and then the in-laws are going to be different to you, and that's certainly
Perfect
been
balance.
our experience, but then it's learning, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
definitely.
differences.
Yeah. Can I say that one of the things that we do, you know, when we're counselling with couples, so when we're working with couples when there's some issues in their relationship, is the counsellors will always talk to them about their background and what their upbringing and what their family's been like and what it is that they've brought into that relationship.
Right. That's great. A wonderful discussion. We'll come back with more in just a moment. You're on The Exchange. Welcome back to The Exchange. We're having a great discussion here with Sue Yorsten and Lisa McInnes-Smith on how to get along with your in-laws.
Absolutely. No, Sue, you say that by the time a child is 3, they have really established a lot of the ways that they look at things in life. How much do we need to take that into consideration?
Well, what we're finding, this sort of linked to brain development and attachment theories you might have heard of, so
Yes.
being a little bit clinical here. So what we're saying is that in the first few years of a child's life is actually when they innately learn what the values and beliefs are of that family, what goes and what doesn't go. And it's how then that child then finds their place within that family. And so what we're saying is that as we grow up, we continue, you know, we have those beliefs and values that we take with us throughout life about what's important to the family, what the family believes, what the family values is part of what we take on.
and do they develop or change a lot without therapy?
It depends on on your life experiences. So for
Right.
some people, they break away, if you like, from they don't value that family. You know, whatever the family's truisms is, they develop their own, and they might develop in a different way.
That's
But that
amazing
depends on
though,
their
isn't it?
life's experiences as well. And
3 years is not long,
No, it's
and
not.
it'd be easy to underestimate the value of those first 3
But
years.
it's where we get.
Absolutely.
It's where we often get. You know, how we treat girls and boys differently.
And that comes from the
And
first 3 years.
Yep, that's how we set it up, and then that's how they often will behave as adults. This is my role as a female. This is your role as a male.
Fascinating.
I wonder whether I've confused my children by having
well, they
Too late
work
now.
together. Yeah.
by having the in-laws involved from a young age. So since my children were babies, even to the extent, because I'm a travelling and working mum, the in-laws have travelled with me. So we've been living in each other's pockets 4 weeks at a time, 8 weeks at a time, hotel rooms where they could walk in and out at any stage. And of course, my children have grown up with their values and my values. And then when we travelled without the children, then sharing with my parents as well. Could I have confused my children?
I don't think so.
Probably
Because
give
I
them
think
more
what you
balance.
were saying before, they've actually enmeshed all. Your values and your in-laws' values. You've enmeshed that. You've worked that out. And what's important for the children is to have people in their corner. And the more people they have in their corner, the better. So if the in-laws are in there as well, those kids are already
Well, see,
on
that's
their
what
way.
I've
all
seen.
good, Lisa.
Yeah,
it's
it's all
all
good. good.
Well, that's what we think. Let's go out on the streets now and find out what the people have to say.
Do you get along with your in-laws?
Actually, I get along very well with my in-laws.
Yes, I do. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, I'd have to say I did actually. Yeah.
I sure do. They're lovely, lovely people.
If we lived in the same state, maybe not so much, but yeah, no, it's okay.
No,
You want to tell me a little bit about that?
they didn't accept me for who I was. I wasn't good enough for their son. It's sort of very critical.
Right, and how did you manage that?
I bit my tongue for a long time, and then on one occasion I stood up for myself.
And was that received well?
No, I didn't care.
Yes, but we don't actually see them. So they don't like the way we do certain things. So they've chosen not to be part of our lives. But before that, yes, we did.
Oh yes, yeah, no trouble at all.
Have you ever had a disagreement or an argument of any sort, and how have you managed that?
We were just talking about it, weren't we? Yeah, no, we've got that relationship that if there is a problem, we can speak about it openly. We don't need to talk to somebody else about it, but that's a rarity, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a rarity.
I think I've been lucky in that I haven't had too many disagreements. I remember when I first was being run past the mother-in-law, I actually picked up one of her pieces of cutlery and on it and buffed it on the shirt, and that didn't go down very well.
Never. No, they're just the type of people you couldn't fight with.
Trying to talk to them to explain that this is the way we did things, that it was Christmas, and they said no, they would prefer to go to the local RSL rather than spend Christmas with ourselves and their grandchildren.
What's one tip that you would give to a new couple regarding managing relationships with in-laws?
I've never ever had bad in-laws. I actually, to be honest, I see them, on TV shows and so forth and think, God, I don't know what that would be like. So I don't know if I'm the best person to ask, but I've just been blessed with a pretty good run.
I guess be kind and careful, but don't get too close.
If your son or daughter wants to be with them, you have to accept them for what they are.
Just smile and say yes, of course.
What's been the recipe of your success?
I think it's them. They're these gorgeous, quaint little Irish folk, and they're just divine, really lovely.
No, never had a disagreement because she wouldn't want to disagree with me. No, she wouldn't win.
Well, some great opinions there. Let's welcome our Street Talk reporter, Sandra Cavallo.
Hello. Sandra, didn't you love that little girl saying about the cute little Irish couple?
I thought you'd love that comment.
I know.
That's right. That was
but it's
lovely.
not always like
People are lovely.
Yes, of course they are.
But it's not always like that. And
No.
a couple of them, that thought it was quite sad. I don't know about you guys, but that one lady who said she'd tolerated stuff for a long time
and then exploded on one occasion, which you can kind of understand.
Yeah, actually, I was really surprised, to be honest. Majority of the people who spoke to me had, really good relationships with their in-laws. What you don't see is all the ones that didn't want to talk to me because they didn't have.
No, didn't want to talk about it.
Didn't want to talk about it obviously
TV.
publicly, that they don't get along. And I found that the people who had the issues the most were the women. The women had the issues with the mother-in-law, majority. And
is there a reason for
father-in-laws
that?
don't even really come into the equation, or no one even spoke about the father-in-law.
Is that the woman-to-woman thing, do you think?
It could be called female jealousy and female competition.
Right.
Females are very good at that, at competing.
And so...
But it's also the role difference, isn't it? I mean, the woman who's married to the man is the nurturing one, and then the mother has been the nurturing one. So the wife has taken over from the mother.
Yes, I've got
the father often isn't in that equation in the same way.
No. As a mother, I have to cede my authority and my nurturing and my care of this human being that I've had since birth to someone else.
Yes.
And is it maybe because the women are the ones more or less making decisions in the home, and then those opinions are going to clash more strongly than fathers and to daughter-in-laws?
Yes.
And it seems like that some of them said, they don't understand me. So I was listening to your conversation earlier on that it's a mutual trying to understand each other. But, the women that I spoke to on the streets, they didn't understand how we do things. So I don't know if that conversation's going two-way.
I thought the saddest one there was the lady who said that the in-laws don't agree with what they do. She obviously didn't go into detail there, but that the in-laws had made a decision not to engage with their kids and their grandchildren.
That's
I thought
really
it was
sad
tragic.
because that's the children that are missing out on that really important relationship.
Yeah. Do you see that very much?
We see it, for us, we don't see it a lot. We probably see it more. A lot of the work that we do is actually around family breakdown, when couples are separating, and that can be totally devastating for parents and for in-laws because they have had a relationship with children and that can be broken.
And then they don't see the grandchildren don't see the grandparents.
Yes, especially for the in-laws,
Yep.
Because for the mother takes the children and may go to a new relationship, and the in-laws, the grandparents, from the other side, from the father's side, are no longer valued.
Yeah,
But I've seen many in-laws jump in and say, look, hey, there's a problem, we're going to come in and help. And even if the relationship between the couple is broken, then sometimes those in-laws are amazing people that actually bring stability, aren't they, into the lives of the children.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sandra, for coming in.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. You're on The Exchange. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Welcome back to The Exchange, where our guests are relationship expert Sue Yorsten and motivational speaker Lisa McInnes-Smith. We've been talking about how to relate to your in-laws, and I'm just wondering, why is it that mothers-in-law are often the butt of our jokes?
Maybe because it's the male that's making the jokes and he's the one that's sitting back observing.
Okay.
And maybe because they wouldn't get away with it if they joked with the men.
Yeah.
Like they might take them on, whereas the women tend to laugh at themselves more often.
It could be, and maybe it's because men make them to other men, and they're the ones that think it's funny.
Yeah, and we do, you know. I mean, you know, the definition of mixed emotions, for example. Watching your mother-in-law drive over a cliff in your brand new car.
That's terrible.
Isn't that terrible?
That's an iffy buddy.
Yeah.
But it's also important to know, Sue, what battles are important to fight.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's things like we put great store in events like Christmas and birthdays and that sort of thing, and then they don't often live up to our expectations. There's some conflict in the family, and then it can all fall apart. It's one day. It's a bit like, get over it. Just
suck it up.
Just suck it up.
Yep.
Do what you need to do. And you know, to make sure that everybody has a good time. And you know what buttons to press. Don't press the button.
Don't press the button.
Don't press the button.
Just, Lisa, give us your top tips on handling, managing, living with, working with in-laws.
In-laws, that's great. I think, firstly, you need to have a one-on-one relationship with each in-law. Sometimes we try and build a relationship as a group with your family and the kids. No, I need to have a relationship with my father-in-law, and I need to have a relationship with my mother-in-law. And if I take the time, then I'm going to have a chance to have these clear conversations that we need to have one-on-one without embarrassing anybody, that we're actually doing it respectfully as adults. And I think those two things actually will stop all the other problems coming in.
I think that's very wise. When my in-laws come out from Ireland, I go out with my father-in-law.
Yes, but what do you do with your mother-in-law? No,
that's
challenge.
it. This year is my challenge. I'm going to do something with my mother-in-law. Something nice with my mother-in-law. And but we go out for breakfast, my father-in-law and I, and we have a nice breakfast together, great conversation. What would you say, Sue?
Yes, I was just thinking that the night that I got engaged, my dad took my then fiance to the pub, and they were gone for several hours, so they bonded very well.
Yeah. Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, it's been so good to have you both. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Sue, for joining us on The Exchange.
My pleasure.
Please go to our website for more information about this show, The Exchange. We look forward to seeing you next time.
See you soon.